Did Deion Sanders just completely expose the NFL media machine without even trying? Because what started as a simple conversation about Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns has now turned into one of the most emotional, controversial, and divided storylines in football. Fans are accusing media personalities of moving the goalposts. Former players are defending Shedeur publicly. Browns fans are fighting with each other online every single day. And now, even Coach Prime himself is stepping directly into the middle of the chaos. The biggest controversy of all. Deion Sanders revealed he plans to meet with Browns offensive coordinator Todd Monken to talk about how to coach Shedeur Sanders properly. And somehow, that single comment completely shattered the internet. Some people believe it's totally normal because Deion wasn't just Shedeur's father. He was his head coach for years. Others think it proves exactly why NFL teams were nervous about drafting Shedeur in the first place. Then things got even crazier once Donovan Mitchell publicly defended Shedeur Sanders and called out the unfair criticism surrounding him. Suddenly, this stopped being just about football. Now it's about media narratives, athlete empowerment, fan loyalty, and whether Shedeur Sanders is being treated completely differently from other quarterbacks before he's even taken an NFL snap. And honestly, the deeper this story goes, the more divided the football world becomes. The moment Deion Sanders said he wanted to meet with Todd Monken, the entire football conversation instantly exploded. At first, some fans didn't understand why the comment mattered so much. But within hours, sports media personalities everywhere were debating the same question. Should an NFL coach really be sitting down with a rookie quarterback's father to discuss how to coach him? And that's where the arguments immediately split into two completely different sides. Supporters of Shedeur Sanders thought the outrage made absolutely no sense. Because according to them, people were intentionally ignoring one very important detail. Deion Sanders was not just Shedeur's dad. He was his coach for years. That point became the center of the entire debate. In the interview, Deion explained that he wanted to help Todd Monken understand what motivates Shedeur, what builds his confidence, and what situations help him play his best football. He even brought up Travis Hunter and questioned why NFL teams wouldn't want insight from the person who coached these players every single day. Falsatun thra fol zara ul fuv, L21. Honestly, a lot of fans agreed with him. Former players and analysts started pointing out that NFL teams already do deep background research on draft prospects all the time. They talk to high school coaches, teachers, trainers, teammates, and family members. So to many people, talking to Deion Sanders simply sounded like part of the normal scouting and development process. That's exactly the argument Garrett Bush made. He openly defended the idea and explained that coaches regularly ask questions about how players learn, what motivates them, and what communication styles work best. According to him, the only reason people were acting uncomfortable was because the coach happened to be Deion Sanders. Falsatun thra fol zara ul fuddy atul 70 none. And honestly, that's when the conversation became way more emotional. Because once Deion's name gets involved, people stop treating situations normally. Suddenly, critics started warning that bringing Shedeur into an organization also meant bringing the Deion circus into the building. Others claimed NFL coaches might feel uncomfortable because of Prime's massive personality and celebrity influence. But supporters pushed back immediately. They argued Deion wasn't trying to coach the Browns or control the franchise. He was simply offering knowledge about a quarterback he developed personally for years. To them, the backlash itself proved that people were looking for reasons to criticize Shedeur before his career even starts. And honestly, the more fans debated it online, the more personal the entire situation started feeling. Because this was no longer just about football development anymore. It became a debate about power, influence, respect, and whether certain people in football still feel uncomfortable when athletes and families operate differently than the traditional NFL system. But that wasn't even the most explosive part. Because once national media personalities started calling Shedeur Sanders a circus, Browns fans completely lost their minds. If the Todd Monken debate started the fire, the circus comments poured gasoline directly on it. Because once media personalities openly suggested the Browns had drafted unnecessary drama along with Shedeur Sanders, the internet exploded instantly. One of the biggest talking points came when commentators argued that drafting Shedeur meant bringing Deion Sanders, media attention, celebrity energy, and non-stop controversy into the organization. Falsatan thra Fulzura ul Nunti Tal 111. And honestly, that single argument changed the entire tone of the conversation. Suddenly, fans weren't debating football ability anymore. They were debating whether Shedeur Sanders himself was being unfairly labeled as a problem before even stepping onto the field. Supporters immediately pushed back against the circus narrative. They argued that media attention isn't automatically negative, especially in modern sports where star power drives ratings, ticket sales, merchandise, and engagement. According to many fans, the NFL constantly celebrates flashy personalities when it benefits the league financially. But the moment Deion Sanders and his son become involved, people suddenly start acting terrified of attention. That double standard became a massive topic online. Some Browns fans even accused certain media personalities of treating Shedeur like a distraction, simply because of the Sanders family brand. Others claimed traditional football culture still struggles to fully embrace players and families who operate with confidence, celebrity energy, and direct control over their image. Now, to be fair, not everybody agreed with those accusations. Some analysts argued the Browns genuinely do have reason to worry about distractions because Cleveland already deals with constant quarterback drama, media scrutiny, and pressure. From their perspective, adding another huge storyline into an already unstable environment could create even more chaos. And honestly, that concern wasn't completely irrational. The Browns' quarterback room already feels complicated enough. You have Deshaun Watson dealing with massive scrutiny. You have veteran expectations. You have rookie competition. And now you have one of the most talked about rookie quarterbacks in America entering the building with one of the most famous fathers in sports history attached to him. That naturally creates headlines. But supporters believed critics were intentionally exaggerating the situation. They pointed out that Shedeur himself has repeatedly said he wants to work, compete, and prove himself quietly. Meanwhile, Deion Sanders publicly praised Cleveland and even said his son is exactly where he needs to be. File site turn 350 L160 L165. Still, the damage was already done. Once the word circus entered the conversation, the entire debate became emotional and personal. Browns fans started choosing sides. Some believed the Sanders spotlight could finally make Cleveland culturally relevant again. Others feared the attention would create non-stop drama around the organization. And honestly, the argument only became more intense once G. Bush introduced one comparison that completely changed the conversation online. Because according to him, if this situation involved Arch Manning instead of Shedeur Sanders, nobody would be complaining at all. The moment G. Bush brought up Arch Manning, the internet completely exploded. Because suddenly, the debate around Shedeur Sanders stopped feeling like just a football conversation. It became a conversation about perception. During the discussion, G. Bush argued that if Arch Manning eventually entered the NFL and a team wanted to talk with Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, or the Manning family about how to coach him properly, nobody would think twice about it. File site turn 3 file 0 L146 L160. And honestly, a lot of fans agreed immediately. That comparison spread across social media almost instantly because people felt it exposed what they believed was a major double standard in how the football world treats different families, personalities, and public images. Supporters of Shedeur Sanders argued that Deion Sanders should be viewed as an incredible football resource. After all, Prime is one of the greatest athletes in NFL history, a Hall of Famer, and someone who coached Shedeur directly for years. To them, the idea that NFL teams would avoid learning from him seemed ridiculous. But critics saw things differently. Some media personalities argued that the Sanders situation naturally creates more attention and complexity than a typical football family. They pointed to Deion's celebrity presence, public comments, and massive influence as reasons why organizations may feel cautious. And that's where the argument became incredibly sensitive online. Because many fans started questioning whether confidence, culture, and personality were influencing how people viewed Shedeur Sanders compared to other quarterbacks. Some supporters openly accused parts of the sports media of treating Shedeur differently because of the way he carries himself. They pointed to the flashy lifestyle, confidence, social media presence, and Deion's outspoken personality as things critics seem unable to separate from the actual football player. Now, it's important to say clearly that those accusations remain opinions and fan interpretations, not confirmed facts. But the reason the debate exploded so aggressively is because the emotional reactions felt very real. And honestly, once race and perception became part of the discussion, the internet completely lost control of the conversation. Fans started revisiting old draft narratives, media criticism, and comments surrounding Shedeur throughout the entire pre-draft process. Suddenly, people were analyzing everything, from interview criticism to personality concerns to how confidently Shedeur speaks publicly. To supporters, it felt like the football world wanted Shedeur to be quieter, humbler, and less visible. To critics, it felt like fans were turning every football criticism into a conspiracy. That divide became impossible to ignore. And then something unexpected happened. An NBA superstar stepped directly into the conversation and publicly defended Shedeur Sanders in front of everybody. And once Donovan Mitchell spoke up, the story got even bigger. When Donovan Mitchell publicly defended Shedeur Sanders, it completely changed the energy surrounding the conversation. Because suddenly, this wasn't just Browns fans arguing online anymore. Now major athletes from outside the NFL were openly stepping in to support Shedeur and call out what they believed was unfair criticism. During the clip, Mitchell made it crystal clear where he stood. He described Shedeur Sanders as phenomenal and openly said he believes the quarterback receives far too much unnecessary hate and criticism. File site turn 3 file 0 L139 L145. That statement immediately spread across social media. And honestly, the reaction from fans was huge. Supporters of Shedeur saw Mitchell's comments as validation that athletes themselves understand the pressure and narratives surrounding Shedeur better than media personalities do. Many fans argued that professional athletes recognize how quickly confidence can get misinterpreted publicly, especially when a player already carries enormous expectations. The timing of Mitchell's comments also mattered. At this point, Shedeur Sanders had already become one of the most polarizing rookie quarterbacks in football before even taking a snap. Every interview, every practice clip, every comment from Deion Sanders, and every media segment seemed to trigger another giant debate online. So when a respected NBA star publicly defended him, fans immediately treated it like proof that people inside professional sports see the situation differently than parts of the media do. And honestly, That crossover attention made the story feel much larger than football. Because now Shedeur Sanders wasn't just becoming an NFL storyline. He was becoming a culture storyline. That's a major difference. Normal rookie quarterbacks don't usually attract support from NBA stars, celebrities, independent creators, and massive internet communities all at once. But Shedeur Sanders exists in a completely different spotlight because of the Sanders family brand, social media culture, and the celebrity world surrounding modern sports. And fans are emotionally invested in him succeeding. That emotional investment became obvious once people started defending Shedeur almost like they were protecting someone personally close to them. Some fans viewed criticism of Shedeur as legitimate football analysis. Others viewed it as targeted negativity, designed to tear down a young player before he even has a real opportunity. That emotional divide is exactly why this story keeps growing. Because every time somebody criticizes Shedeur Sanders, another athlete, creator, or fan base rises to defend him publicly. And honestly, the support system around him might be one of the strongest any rookie quarterback has entered the league within years. But behind all the celebrity support and online debates, another battle was quietly getting uglier by the day. A civil war had started inside Browns media itself, and fans were keeping receipts. At this point, the Browns fan base doesn't just disagree about Shedeur Sanders. They practically live in different realities. Because while some fans already believe Shedeur is the future face of the franchise, others still think the hype surrounding him has become completely out of control. And nowhere is that divide more obvious than Browns media itself. Throughout the transcript, frustration towards certain media personalities kept boiling over. L160 fans accused some local analysts and reporters of constantly downplaying Shedeur Sanders, while others openly defended him every chance they got. That tension eventually exploded around Tony Rizzo. During the discussion, criticism toward Rizzo intensified after conversations about whether the Browns should potentially move on from Shedeur if other quarterback situations developed differently. File site turn 350 L145L159 supporters of Shedeur immediately interpreted those discussions as proof that certain media personalities never truly wanted him in Cleveland to begin with. And honestly, the reactions online became extremely emotional. Fans started accusing people of secretly rooting against Shedeur Sanders. Others argued local media members were creating unnecessary negativity around a rookie quarterback before training camp even fully began. At the same time, critics pushed back hard against those accusations. Some argued that discussing roster possibilities, trades, quarterback competition, and organizational concerns is literally part of sports media's job. From their perspective, questioning Shedeur's situation doesn't automatically mean somebody hates him. But supporters weren't buying it. Many fans believed there was a clear pattern in how certain personalities discussed Shedeur compared to other quarterbacks. That's why phrases like "we keeping receipts" became so popular throughout the conversation. File site turn 350 L132L160 fans started treating every negative comment like evidence that people doubted Shedeur unfairly. And honestly, that mentality created a very intense atmosphere online. Because now every opinion about Shedeur Sanders immediately feels political inside Browns fandom. If someone praises him, supporters celebrate. If someone criticizes him, accusations start flying instantly. That emotional environment has completely transformed how Browns fans interact with local sports media. And the craziest part, the actual football season hasn't even started yet. But despite all the arguments, rumors, and media tension, one thing kept becoming clearer and clearer to supporters. They genuinely believe the Browns organization itself is fully behind Shedeur Sanders. And once fans started connecting the roster moves, coaching comments, and Deion's public support together, they became convinced Cleveland might already know exactly who their future quarterback is. One of the biggest reasons Shedeur supporters remain so confident is because they believe Cleveland's offseason moves tell a much bigger story. According to many fans, the Browns are quietly preparing the perfect situation for Shedeur Sanders to eventually succeed. And honestly, once you look at everything together, you can understand why the speculation has exploded. Supporters constantly point toward the Browns rebuilding the offensive line, adding offensive weapons, and surrounding the quarterback room with better overall support. FileSite turned 350 L150L160 to them. It doesn't feel random. It feels intentional. The offensive line upgrades became a huge talking point because many analysts believed protection issues hurt Cleveland badly in recent years. Then fans started looking at the receiving options, tight end additions, and the overall offensive structure Todd Monken appears to be building. That's when the "they're building for Shedeur" theories really took off. Now, to be fair, there's no official confirmation the Browns designed the roster specifically around Shedeur Sanders. Teams build rosters to improve generally, not only for one player, but emotionally, supporters see too many signs lining up at once. And then Deion Sanders added even more fuel to the fire. During the discussion, Prime openly stated that his son is exactly where he needs to be. FileSite turned 350 L160L165. That statement immediately energized Browns fans who already believed Cleveland was secretly becoming the perfect destination for Shedeur's career. The Todd Monken factor also matters enormously here. Supporters constantly praise Monken for sounding confident, direct, and secure enough to handle the pressure surrounding Shedeur Sanders. Several people in the transcript even described him as an alpha male coach who won't get intimidated by outside noise or celebrity attention. FileSite turned 350 L120L145. That confidence reassured a lot of fans. Because one of the biggest fears surrounding the Browns situation was whether the organization could actually handle the spotlight attached to Deion Sanders and his son. But according to supporters, Todd Monken's personality may be exactly what makes the partnership work. And honestly, the optimism surrounding Cleveland right now feels very different from previous years. Fans aren't just hopping to survive another season anymore. They're imagining a complete franchise transformation. That's why every practice clip, every comment from Deion, every roster move, and every media debate suddenly feels connected to a much bigger future storyline. A lot of Browns fans genuinely believe Shedeur Sanders is eventually going to become the face of the organization. And if that actually happens, the NFL media landscape may never look at this offseason controversy the same way again. Because this story has already become much bigger than football itself. The reason this entire situation feels so massive is because it represents way more than one rookie quarterback joining the Cleveland Browns. It represents the changing power structure of sports itself. Think about everything happening at once. You have independent creators influencing national conversations. You have athletes bypassing traditional media entirely. You have fans treating podcasts, YouTube channels, and social media clips as seriously as television networks. And you have celebrity families like the Sanders family controlling attention in ways the NFL has never fully experienced before. That's why the Shedeur Sanders situation feels so different. 10 years ago, a rookie quarterback probably would have depended almost entirely on traditional sports media for public perception. Today, things work completely differently. Now athletes can build direct relationships with fans instantly. Creators like G. Bush can influence huge conversations without needing a giant television network behind them. And fan communities can mobilize online faster than ever before. That shift changes everything. Because when people criticize Shedeur Sanders today, supporters don't just sit quietly anymore. They immediately respond with clips, podcasts, reaction videos, social media threads, and entire communities defending him publicly. That level of fan empowerment is brand new. And honestly, traditional media doesn't always seem fully prepared for it. Throughout this entire controversy, you can feel two completely different worlds colliding. One side still views sports through the traditional lens of organizations controlling narratives, media gatekeepers shaping public opinion, and athletes remaining relatively quiet. The other side embraces celebrity culture, direct fan relationships, social media power, athlete branding, and outspoken personalities. Shedeur Sanders sits directly in the middle of that collision. That's why reactions around him feel so emotional. To supporters, Shedeur represents confidence, empowerment, and a modern athlete refusing to apologize for visibility or personality. To critics, the non-stop hype, attention, and media frenzy surrounding him can feel exhausting before he's even proven himself on the field. And honestly, both sides probably contain some truth. But one thing is impossible to deny. The NFL has never really dealt with a rookie quarterback story quite like this before. Because usually, rookies become stars after success. Shedeur Sanders became a giant storyline before ever throwing an NFL touchdown pass. That level of attention creates unbelievable pressure. But it also creates enormous opportunity. Because if he actually succeeds in Cleveland after all this controversy, every criticism, every debate, and every media argument instantly becomes part of one of the biggest comeback stories football has seen in years. And that possibility is exactly why fans can't stop watching. At the center of this entire controversy is one simple question. Is Shedeur Sanders truly being treated unfairly? Or are fans refusing to acknowledge the legitimate concerns surrounding all the attention and pressure attached to him? Because depending on who you ask, this story looks completely different. Some people believe the NFL media has unfairly turned Shedeur Sanders into a target before his career even starts. They see double standards, unnecessary criticism, and people feeling uncomfortable with the Sanders family's confidence, visibility, and influence. Others believe the concerns surrounding the Browns' situation are completely reasonable. They argue that celebrity attention, non-stop media coverage, and Deion Sanders' presence naturally create pressure and distractions any organization would need to manage carefully. But regardless of where people stand, one thing is undeniable. This entire situation has already transformed into one of the most fascinating stories in football. The Todd Monken meeting debate, the circus accusations, Donovan Mitchell publicly defending Shedeur, Browns fans fighting each other online, media personalities getting called out daily, Deion Sanders stepping directly into the conversation. All of it keeps making the spotlight around Shedeur Sanders even bigger. And honestly, that spotlight may only continue growing. Because if Shedeur struggles, critics will claim the warnings were justified all along. But if he succeeds, every single criticism instantly becomes fuel for one of the most powerful redemption arcs the NFL has seen in years. That's why this story matters so much. It's not just about a rookie quarterback anymore. It's about media power, athlete empowerment, internet culture, fan loyalty, and whether the NFL is fully prepared for the kind of celebrity-era superstar Shedeur Sanders could eventually become. And now, the entire football world is waiting to see what happens next. Because if Cleveland actually turns this into a winning story, people are going to look back at all this controversy very differently.